Here, we...
Open the gateway, please. You want war, Atreus. See for yourself the legacy this one has left for the Barons. I've had far more than I can stomach.
We do not need to rush. We should see this desert for ourselves.
Look, I know we can't trust prophecy, but I'm not sure we should just ignore what we saw either.
We are not ignoring it. We will discuss it back home. For now, I wish to search for the wounded animal you heard earlier.
You?
Reach the Barons up top. Once we find a way past this hive matter.
I remember these things. Definitely Dark Elf territory.
Just curious, why don't you like riddles?
They are frivolous.
They encourage lateral thinking. Listen, there are 3 doors before you. One contains a pit of spikes, one a dragon, and one a pair of lions that haven't been fed in weeks. Which door do you open? Any particular direction to find your wounded animal? Or are we just enjoying the weather?
How do you hope to find anything in all this?
Perhaps we find a cave first to catch our bearings?
Look there! An entrance to the... caves!
This cave extends underneath the desert.
Aye. A refuge for the Dark Elves by the looks of it. One of the few remaining now that they're barred from the temple. Perhaps we'll find Atreus' wounded animal down here.
Lead the way, Kratos. I trust you to not get us lost underground. Poor elves, blinded by hate, lashing out at everything and everyone for their fate.
They will not listen to reason. Combat is unavoidable.
Trust me, I know. Still, I wish it were not the case.
Patience. A virtue or a threat?
Depends on the reader.
This creature Atreus heard, why wait until now to free him?
It was not a priority.
We were too busy attempting to stave off Ragnarok to indulge in any desert dalliances.
Shame. I imagine Atreus would have enjoyed a quest to free an injured animal.
Yes, he would have.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to twist the knife.
You did not. Atreus has chosen his path. I trust him to be safe.
Behind you, brother!
With my own son when he was Atreus' age. Baldur craved adventure, but with the words of the Norns repeating in my head.
Your worry consumed you, as my rage once did to me.
You overcame it, eventually.
Thanks to Atreus. And his mother.
Yes. Perhaps if Odin had loved his children as much as he loved using them, both would still be with us. Atreus reminds me more of Freyr in his youth than of Baldur. His sensitivity, his compulsion to help any and all in need.
That is his mother's influence. Despite all attempts to train him otherwise, Atreus was eager to help lost spirits or run errands for the dwarves during our travels together.
Faye's influence runs deeper than that. Why do you think you're the one assaulting a cave full of hostile dark elves to save a wounded creature?
The wee bastard's about to explode!
Excursions like this once served as training for Atreus, or an excuse to gather resources while testing his abilities. But I made him a promise. His voice as my guide.
And his voice told you to come out here?
A little proof. Strange that means more to me now than it did before he left.
You've said it yourself. Atreus takes after his mother. His approval is her approval.
Right there! Left flank!
seen one since I was a child.
Great Gefyun's ghost! That's the largest bloody half-goof I've ever laid eyes on.
That howling sounds familiar.
It's the Song of the Sands. You don't normally sing like this underground.
That must be the cause of the storm.
Aye. Judging by all this hive matter weighing it down, it's been trapped here for dozens of winters.
There must be a way to cut it loose.
I'd wager that there's nothing here a well-placed throw of the axe can't solve.
That helped. We've cut it loose, but it can't seem to escape.
Much of the hive matter is gone. We can free it from the surface now.
How in the realms did they capture such a large one?
Half-goofers are known to burrow, so I'd hesitate to place full blame on our dark elf friends.
Even though it's bound by their hive?
Hive matter doesn't belong to the Dark Elves, any more than the light belongs to the Light Elves. It's just another of Alfheim's natural resources. One the elves have used since the time of their ancestors. And while the Light Elves seem keen to banish the hive over on their side, the Dark Elves make effective use of it out here in the Barrens.
But if this is true, are we doing more harm than good by destroying this hive?
You wish to leave the creature enslaved.
No. Freyr would have wanted us to do everything in our power to restore this realm. We will free it.
Here! You should be able to cut this part away and free the half-goofa!
Never imagined I'd see a half-goofa fly again. Can't believe the lad missed this.
The storm is gone. The Song of the Sands has returned to Alfheim, albeit somewhat diminished from how I remember it as a child.
Trace will be glad to hear it is no longer in pain.
You look forward to telling him.
One day. Yes.
You gave him a gift, allowing him to walk his own path. I know that wasn't easy.
I know you cared for him as well. You have always done right by Atreus.
He is the best of us.
Well, nice to be able to have a real conversation out here for once.
Odd. It looks as though the Light Elves sealed off this section of the Barrens. Why?
Luckily for us, a very considerate goddess has enhanced our magic chisel, and we can unseal it.
My, that is lucky.
The Forbidden Sands lay beyond.
Contested territory, according to Bela, and another storm to endure.
I remember when Freyr and I traveled to this realm as children. The desert was healthy and full of life back then. I can't help but fear that era has ended for good and our efforts here are futile.
It's a fair concern. Healing this land will take more than a pair of singing half-goofa. But I have to believe, in the long run, we're doing right by Alfheim. Well, best we start looking for a way underground.
Keep a lookout for a cave! I see an entrance!
Freyr never saw how poorly these lands fared in his absence, did he? He would appreciate our efforts out here.
Aye. Hearing the Song of the Sands again is a rare privilege, even if it's only a solo act.
Or a duet, once this Hofgufa is free. This architecture. It is not of the Dark Elves.
An abandoned ancient settlement, by the looks of it. Built long before the Lightwell's creation.
More hive matter as well.
I'd say we're on the right track then.
This kind of hive material is sensitive to sound. When I last came here with you and Atreus, I assumed the absence of Alfheim's light was an aberration. I didn't realize it was caused by hive matter.
Aye. And as far as the Dark Elves are concerned, it's that light column in the center of the temple that's the aberration. Just look at how old some of these surfaces are. Far older than the Lightwell, or even our trapped Hafgifa for that matter.
That's quite the empathetic perspective, Mimir.
Well, dangle from a burly god's backside for a few winters, and you'll find yourself looking for all sorts of new perspectives.
Well, there you go.
Wretch on the left!
Behind you! Down!
Light elves don't often travel underneath the bear.
I suspect the corpse below would disagree. Good eye. Let's continue, shall we?
I hope freeing these Hofgufas will allow them to breed again. It was a dazzling display once. The skies of Alfheim filled with their song.
I imagine it's the lack of fresh light that's caused this pair to grow abnormally large. No use in having babies if there's nothing for them to feed on.
Trying to protect their children from a harsh world. I can relate. I wonder if these two comprehend the choice they face once free.
What choice do you speak of?
The life cycle of the Hofgufe. In order to breed, they must pass on their life to their children.
And without...
Good. Almost there. Well done. Time to set it loose.
Aye. Back to the surface then. Right side!
A tribute made by the elves from my brother. He must have found it too painful to keep.
A pipe.
Used in many of Freyr's blessings, I imagine.
Well, knowing the elves, there are probably more tributes to find.
The fate of these creatures reminds me of a story.
Does it?
There once was a blacksmith whose king commanded him to construct a box that could contain all the evils of the world. But no metal could hold such power. So the blacksmith used the flame of...
Kratos, is this a story meant to ease my grief?
Perhaps it is just a story. A way to pass the time.
I appreciate the sentiment, but... well,
Don't sell yourself short, brother. You've come a long way from the days of laconic fables.
it's okay. Well, at least it's a relatable story.
It appears we've over...
Time to end this storm. Elven library.
An archive of knowledge.
No sign of the Light Elves.
For now.
Maybe they've left for the day, and we can browse at our leisure.
These texts alone are not enough to end the Elven War. But restricting their access only serves those who wish to prolong it.
Taking a page out of Odin's book.
Aye, quite the advantage for the Light Elves.
This book is sealed, but there is an inscription. Consul.
Big Veer spoke of an exile of the same name. Odds are he'd like a gander at that particular text.
All this knowledge of their ancestors, their shared history, poetry, just sitting here, forgotten. What a waste.
Ah, it appears the librarian would like a word.
Lata Frambok.
Sounds like she wants that journal back.
No.
They're healing!
Leosalfa. Thought. Megivita. Helga brought him on.
She thinks she's protecting them by hiding all this knowledge away.
The elves do not need protection from their history. They need access. A new chapter awaits.
I'm impressed. Thought you were going to end her.
When last we traveled here, after Faye passed, I killed an elf of great importance. The ramifications were dire for his people. I do not wish to make the same mistake twice.